We're with Chris Armstrong on the men's cross country team here at Eastern Connecticut. Chris is a sophomore from Bolton. Chris, a couple of weeks left in the season, about a month left in the season. Is the team pretty much where it wants to be?
I mean, right now we kind of have the issue of there's a lot of sickness going around. There's a lot of people who are sick and injured at present. I know I had practice the other day and everyone was kind of a little bit out of commission. I know I've been sick for a couple of weeks, but the team is looking really, really good in terms of everyone being at the fitness level they need to be, everyone being healthy. And I mean, we've got a meet coming up this Saturday, and I think unfortunately a lot of our top guys are going to be out of commission. I think a lot of people aren't going to be running, and it might not be our best race. But I think it's a big sign of progress just in the fact that last year if we had guys who weren't able to run, we essentially wouldn't be able to perform. We barely had the minimum people to run a race. We barely were able to score, that kind of thing. This year we've got a lot of depth. We've got a lot of new faces. We've got a lot of people who've really stepped up. So we've got a really strong pack who all runs together. So even though we're going to not have a lot of top runners at this coming race, we're still going to be able to have a good core of runners out there. And I think the important thing is that if everyone can recover, if everyone can take some time off, get healthy, recover from injury, recover from sickness, we're going to have a really good showing at the LEC conference.
Well, I know yourself. You came in as a freshman in 2013, had a decent year, but you came in this year and just really went to town. Talk about how you changed your training regiment or process this past summer.
Well, I mean, this freshman year was very much a wake-up call for me. It was kind of, at least this freshman cross-country season was probably the worst cross-country season I'd had, and that I was kind of on a steady downhill from my best year, my junior year of high school, and I was still kind of trying to rest on the ability I had my junior year and kind of rest on what I thought I already had the base built up. But I had a very lackluster cross-country season, a lot of times that I'm not particularly proud of, a lot of 90-minute 5Ks and things that weren't all that fantastic. And I did see steady improvement throughout the season as I was being coached and putting in more miles through indoor and outdoor track. Mm-hmm. But this summer, this most recent summer, was definitely very much a do-or-die summer. I really wanted to get back the ability I had and really step up. Coach Menizza is a big supporter of Running to Win, which is a online running log where the team kind of has its own page and we can all log our mileage. So I was very competitive with my friend and captain, Steven, and we kind of had a little back and forth throughout the summer about how many miles we're putting in and really trying to step up and consistently, without injuring ourselves and without putting too much stress on our bodies, push and run more and more miles. I ran about 800 miles this summer, and Steven ran about 890, a little bit ahead of me. But that played a big factor in training for cross country. Having that base training and having that big block of miles before you start doing your speed work makes a big difference. And I mean, this summer I would put in days that were 10, 15 miles. I would run a lot of doubles where I would run in the morning and then I would run again after work or after whatever I had going on that day. And it made a big difference. It really, the first couple of races this season were a little bit lackluster, but once Coach Menizza's workout started to have an effect and I started putting in this speed work, I saw big leaps and bounds, and that was really important. That was pivotal.
Well, we talked a little bit about before, talk about the UMass Dartmouth race, which was really, really something for you about a month ago. Talk about that feeling for that UMass Dartmouth and what you produced for that race.
Yeah, absolutely. So UMass Dartmouth was the first 8K of the season, which we race 8Ks. That's like our conference championship will be an 8K, which is 5 miles. And the first couple of races of the season, even though I was in shape, I was finally fit, had that endurance, I hadn't quite started to run the speed work and that kind of thing that we would have training for during the season. So I had a couple of lackluster races at the beginning of the season. But I typically go out particularly fast. Just as a general rule, that's my race strategy. I go out hard and sometimes I have to reel it back in, sometimes I die a little bit, sometimes it tires me out. But I went out really fast at the UMass Dartmouth race. I went out to a 5:10 mile, and I know I saw the surprise on our assistant coach Tim's face. He was very confused as to why I was going so quickly. But it was the first race where I didn't die out. I didn't have that fatigue. I was able to keep a really quick pace, a pace that I'd never been able to run before. It was like a huge breakout race for me. It was really wild. It was very surreal. But I was able to, because it was a big meet and because it was a fast course and because it was just like the right conditions, and I was finally where I needed to be with my training. I was able to throw down a 27-minute 8K, which is like 4 or 5 minutes faster than I'd ever run before. It was a big PR. The whole team ran huge PRs that day. It was a good day for the team. It was like a big breakout race for me that kind of made me competitive again, which was awesome.
Which is a great feeling. The first couple races of the year in the fall, you said you didn't have particularly good races. Did that sort of confuse you? Did you sort of say to yourself, I put in all this mileage over the summer and it's not really paying off? Or did you know what it was, what was going on?
A little bit. I mean, that is something that we've talked about as a team and something that our coach was kind of trying to have us start doing speed work by the end of the summer, because that is something you need to actually improve your times. You do need that speed work and you do need those workouts. But the first races that I ran this year were improvements from last cross-country season. They were improvements from that particular point. They just weren't the mind-blowing progress I've been hoping for. But I mean, one of the days, there was kind of a lot of off days where one was like a really humid day at Wickham Park. One was just not a great race,
Yeah.
And I was seeing myself a lot of improvement in the workouts more than anything, that I was able to keep up with the main pack this year as opposed to kind of trailing at the end from last year. I was able to keep up during the workouts, and that was much more kind of, not an inspiration, but kind of kept me going and was a more sign of improvement for the first few weeks as opposed to race progress, and I knew the race progress would come.
Well, talk about the training regimen. There's a couple, this year there's a couple of weeks where you don't run a race every Saturday, you run it every other Saturday. How does that change the way you guys approach that week's training? Does it change from week to week?
Well, typically we have Mondays off. So typically that means on a Tuesday through Saturday, we really can only run one or maybe two workouts. We have a hard workout on Tuesday, and then we have a recovery day. And recovery days are really super important. Recovery days are arguably more important than your workouts. That's when you get faster. Your body needs to rest between the workouts. So we have days where we just run easy mileage between our workouts. So we have a hard day Tuesday, and then we have some recovery, sometimes another workout on Wednesday or Thursday. Or not Wednesday or Thursday, but sometimes another workout, sometimes not. But ultimately, we have to prepare for the race on Saturday, which means we're really only getting in one workout a week.
Yeah.
So on the days on the off weeks, when we have kind of 2 weeks, we can kind of space out our workouts more. We have time to do more tempo work or do more hills or this or that. We kind of can space out our workouts a little bit to more cater to the way we need to recover versus being ready for the race. So that Saturday we can run tempo if we need to. We can run Friday. It kind of gives us a little more leeway to kind of balance out our workouts, and then kind of bring everything back in for the race the following week.
Well, within the team concept, on any given day when you're practicing, does everybody have their own sort of kind of training for that particular day based on where they are and how healthy they are, or is it just everyone is doing the same thing?
To some extent, there's definitely that variation. Coach Mnizza does a really good job of kind of keeping track of where everyone should be. Everyone kind of has a different, if we're running a workout, we'll all warm up together, we'll all cool down together, we'll all do our recovery periods together. But then when it comes to if we're running half-mile repeats or 400s or mile repeats, whatever we happen to be doing, everyone kind of has a time that they're looking to hit that correlates to their race pace. And sometimes there are groups of us that will run together, so like people that run similar times will all be trying to run the same mile split, just like in a race. But everyone kind of has a distinct time, and especially if people are injured or sick, which I know I have been the past few weeks, Coach is a big proponent of making sure you're doing what you need to do to recover. Being undertrained is always better than being overtrained and sick, and because the only way to recover from overtraining is to just take some time off. So she's been good about, I know the past few weeks I've spent some time on the elliptical, some time on the bike, some time on the pool, doing other things other than running that'll help you recover, and doing some cross training. And if anyone isn't healthy or needs to take that time off, that's really important. It's never like a priority to have someone out there running if it's not going to help them improve, and that's really important.
Well, last year was your freshman year here. You went cross country to indoor track to outdoor track.
Yes.
As compared to your senior year in high school, was that a real big demand, much more of a demand on your body than you were used to?
To some extent, I mean, because of the way we do have our easy days and we do have like a week off between seasons, I felt like there was definitely enough recovery between seasons that I was still feeling ready to race. If anything, I think that I felt much, much better coming into indoor track because in high school in the summer it's tough to kind of continue running over the winter because obviously it's cold out, snowing, it's not ideal conditions for running, but having the team be together for indoor track, we didn't have indoor track at Bolton. Excuse me. But having indoor track when everyone's running, I felt like I was coming into outdoor track in much better shape, and I didn't lose any training from cross country. I was seeing a lot of improvement last year. And I will say that, especially by the end of outdoor season, I was very fatigued just because of the combination of having finals coming up and having this and that, and it was kind of a perfect storm of just various stressful things, including running. So I definitely took some times off once the summer started, but it's very reasonable to transition from cross country to indoor to outdoor with a week or two, or a little bit of recovery time, especially since meets don't start right away. We won't have our first meet in indoor until after Christmas.
It must be nice to have that at least that week off in between seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to get everything else back to normal. Last question, Chris. You guys have the Little East Conference Championships coming up in a couple of weeks. I know you guys weren't particularly happy with how you finished in it last year. Any team or individual goals for that meet?
I mean, just something we've talked about as a team is that this year we've got a lot of depth and we've got a lot of guys who can really stay together near the top of the pack. We're less spread out than we were last year. And with the exception of Lee, who's just like an anomaly and I'm sure will run incredibly a couple minutes ahead of us. But if the pack behind Lee can all stick together, because a lot of times at any given race, maybe I'll have a really good day and Steven won't. Or Cooper and Joe will run really well and Noah and I won't have a good day. Like, different days, different people run really well. But if we can all recover and be healthy and be ready to race for LECs, and we can all stick together and push each other and make sure everyone has that good day and everyone kind of has the race of their season, I think we can do really big things with that front pack and with this new team we've built has a lot more depth and has a lot more. I don't know. It's definitely a new team from last year, and everything's looking really good. We're looking really strong.
Well, Chris, thank you for your time and good luck the rest of the year.
Yeah, thank you.